So the big question is this. How are real estate agents like us, who didn't cheat and take on venture capital, and are spending money from our own pockets, how do we compete with these billion-dollar real estate tech companies and iBuyers in a way that lets us bring our services and the things we believe in out into the world and still remain profitable? That's the big question. And on this podcast, we'll give you the answers. Welcome to the iBuyer experiment. All right, this weekend, China will land a spaceship on Mars without a pilot. Is it hard to imagine people buying a house without an agent? Well, not as hard as it used to be. At least that's what Brad Inman said yesterday when the industry erupted over the ShowingTime deal, the acquisition by Zillow of ShowingTime for $500 million. Brad Inman said it was another industry oh shit moment. What are our thoughts?
You allowed to say that?
I don't know. I just did. So.
Well, and I seconded it.
In regards to China going to Mars, Elon Musk is going to be pissed.
Yeah. Yes. The race is on many ways.
From the real estate side,
yeah,
it's just more proof. You know, people are like, I'm not worried about the iBuyers. Okay, well, it's coming, and it's coming fast. Every single year, it's just faster and faster.
Well, it's not just iBuyer, right? I mean, we're using that term loosely, but just big tech, big dollars coming in and gobbling up the space, right? So I think a lot of times people look at iBuyer as they're like a one-trick pony. They're not a one-trick pony. They are a multifaceted, like what's that Hedra? They're a Hedra. You know that dragon that has the multiple heads?
Isn't
like
that Medusa?
No, there's.
No.
I'm pretty sure it's a Hedra.
I've got the visual.
So 500 million. That seems kind of cheap.
I know.
And nowadays, right? I mean, I was thinking $1 billion or something. Like, what? Zillow bought something for less than $1 billion?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, ShowingTime's been available, and the price tag was something that several players in the industry could have afforded. Fidelity, News Corp, CoStar, maybe even Open Door could have.
Why did Fidelity not go? That one actually surprises me that Fidelity didn't go after it, especially for $500 million.
Yeah, well.
How could they have monetized on it though? That's
right.
That's the key right there.
Well, the power of data, right? Like that's the one thing I think that a lot of agents and everybody doesn't realize is that the amount of data that ShowingTime acquires, right? Like when you look at the Open Door platform and a lot of other places, the amount of data that they are acquiring, they look at it as just a service. I think most of agents, and they don't realize. I believe that one of their biggest components is the data behind everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that my gut reaction was it was the data. And if you think about it, we put our seller's information in there, we put our buyer's information in there. So we're giving up anonymity really to essentially our buyer and seller pool. And, you know, we know how frequently people move, et cetera, et cetera. But what's interesting as well is in Brad Inman's article, he said that it's not. He does not think it's about getting their hands on the data. He does not think
What does he think it is?
He doesn't think it's the data.
No, he does not think it's the data. He thinks that it is a play to bring the transaction to the digital space. And, you know, it's something that we've talked about and something that as, you know, here at Zoodealio, as we're meeting with investors, one of the things that we love to share with investors is that the percentage of transactions that occur digitally in real estate is super low.
Yes.
And if you look at every other major industry, what has happened? What has been the driving force that has made them change? It's been the online experience, right? And so that hasn't happened in real estate. And so what Zillow is trying to do is build an end-to-end solution where buyers and sellers can go onto Zillow. In another, I believe, crazy announcement by Zillow this week, they said that they're going to have the Zestimate be a live offer.
That's actually, hold on, let's just pause there for a second. That is not small news. That is ridiculous news.
I think they released that after the ShowingTime acquisition because they wanted to bury the lead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a punch in the mouth.
That's
right there.
burying the lead.
Yes.
Let's tell the industry we're going to make the Zestimate a live offer right after we tell them we're going to acquire ShowingTime for $500 million.
Yep.
Everybody's going to be so worried about ShowingTime. Nobody's going to think like from a mindshare perspective. Don't you guys think? Am I being a conspiracy
here's
theorist?
Zillow.
No, they're definitely.
They're freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger at the stage.
And then some.
I'm not gonna lie. I would love to be Rich Barton.
I know. I'm not gonna lie. I'd like to pick up a few of that dude's breadcrumbs at this point, but at the same time,
No way.
But if you think about it, so
those are some pretty big breadcrumbs.
when you get
Kind of like those
We don't need
yacht
'em,
breadcrumbs that I was
Yeah.
just talking to you about.
right. When you get an offer from Zillow Offers, though, they don't even use their Zestimate right now. So what is curious to me is what does that look like for like they have to revamp everything.
Yeah, I mean, are they going to tell you what the fee would be on top of that live offer?
Probably not.
because
They're
I
gonna-
guarantee you they can
Nope.
they can hedge their bet as soon as they're like, oh yeah, you're going to accept that, okay, but there's a 18% fee on top of that.
Yeah, I'm just curious if they're gonna
All right.
use the Zestimate as the offer and keep things cost effective, or are they gonna go in and say, okay, we got to revamp everything and try to make these values even more accurate than our current algorithms? Maybe that's why they tried to
Well, and still
put out
based
that
on
$1 million
acquiring additional
bounty.
data,
Well, they can
which
always
that was a
just,
couple years ago now. But
They can always just use the inspection period to ask for a price reduction if they give an offer that's too high.
absolutely, how many times have we been working with somebody, got an offer from Zillow, darn thing was
Yep.
at market or even slightly better,
Yep.
and then we got hit in the mouth with a 10%
Yeah, they don't ask
reduction
for,
in the
they don't ask
inspection period.
price reductions though. They just ask for a massive credit.
Right.
They want to keep that price high.
Right, right.
That's not a price reduction.
A concession.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, excuse me. Thank you for the correction of my verbiage. But yes, the same way all the institutional buyers
Yep.
work is, they're buying the house in cash, so they want the closed comp at that
Exactly,
price.
yeah.
Is how it works, right? Those of you that are not listening, they'll pay you market value for your house.
Isn't everyone listening?
Well,
That's
If they're,
listening.
if they're on
I think
here.
I think that came out of my mouth wrong.
I understand.
Those of you that are listening that don't know how it works is they'll pay you the number for your house and then they ask for a concession, which effectively lowers the purchase price but records the comp at the higher price. Yep.
So we got into a little bit of the mechanics of this, and yeah, it's interesting. Things are changing, but let me ask you guys this: what can your agents be doing right now to kind of safeguard themselves against all of this?
Well, I think one, they need to get really educated on what's going on in the market and figure out, how do I put myself out in the digital space? How do I have people see me more? Because if you don't at this point, that is, I mean, like we talked about on the last one, I was a dinosaur. I'm not talking about just posting a picture, on social media. I'm talking about really doing things that are like, oh, what's this guy doing? That I'm putting myself out there. So I think people are going to have to change their game big time. They're going to need to educate their clients, and they may need to subscribe to some really cool software that'll help.
Starts with a zoo, ends with a Dilio.
2 words: zoo and deal and EO.
So
Three words.
Three.
I don't remember EO is a word, but
Yeah.
So I
It is
think
for Old McDonald.
I definitely think that agents will need to have technology, but I think the agents that have a good CRM with a following with
Yes.
past clients, and they are following up with their past clients, and they have relationships with they've been able to figure out how to have relationships with massive amounts of people and giving them value. They're fine. Like it's the agents like ourselves that it's like, this doesn't bother me. Like, I don't
Right.
care. I have enough out there that I have relationships with that it's not gonna affect me.
Yeah, well, I think it's being consistent in your messaging, right? I'm gonna actually kind of dovetail off of what both you said, because I believe it immensely in what both you just said. But it's also leveraging the platforms through your database so you can be consistent and not always having to be the archaic ways of one phone call, 2 phone calls, 1 email, 1 text message, right? It's using these platforms to get your message out there, which is why it's so powerful with like the video scripting that that you've done, I've done, we've been talking about, is being able to get your message, your brand, and your value proposition out to your community with your unique offer, such as through a platform like Zoodealio, right? It's all these simple little things that can keep the real estate professional empowered, adapt, and thrive, or die.
Well, that's always been the case, truth
Yep.
be told, right? It's
Yep,
always
never
about
changed.
adapting. Nothing's changed from that perspective, I do think that this will definitely impact a percentage of the industry, and probably the agents that look at it as a hobby, which, you know, one must ask itself, is that a good thing?
It's a good thing. It's a good thing because
for the reputation of the industry, it's honestly it is a good thing.
I think so too.
Yeah, I actually think the agents that do a lot of business, they're happy with all that stuff. I mean, they're secretly happy. They're like, hey, we're not bothered. But I think they're looking at stuff like this and going, great, like this is gonna knock out all the little onesie twosie agents out there, which will actually raise up the industry, I think.
Let's sprinkle this funness in the conversation. I don't remember exactly what it was, but what was Brad Inman's quote recently about talking about the W-2 model and how it's just continuing to like emerge was what it was.
There was something, I don't think it was actually Brad Inman. I think that was from the Homey or the Orchard CEO, one of the two. And essentially it was the W-2 model, you know, it's going to overtake the industry, and we're going to see a lot of change. And that is interesting because, see, I do believe that a W-2 model can really work effectively.
So do I.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I hate to say it.
It's going to take a lot of capital to launch, but that's this big tech money that's coming into place. They're going to see the angles.
Exactly.
They're already doing it.
Yeah.
Didn't we read something that OfferPad was hiring 40% agents
month over
month?
They're
So
growing.
Yep. Oh, that's what I just sent.
They're growing.
I just sent to the
Salesforce, and they're, you know, they're like one capital raise towards like, yeah, well, you know, all of our agents are W-2'd.
For our listeners out there, why do we think that that's happening? Like,
well, here's why. According to Harvard Business Review, 71% of qualified leads are never followed up with.
Exactly.
That's why.
That's the crux of what I wanted to get to.
Because if you have there's a few percentage of people that they enjoy follow-up, calling, prospecting, but by and large, the majority of us don't enjoy that. And so if you don't have someone telling you to do it, it's difficult to do. And what usually happens is you don't do it. Like here on our team, like I got to give it to Keith. Keith will make the follow-up calls, and he just goes for it and he does it. And I know it takes a lot of activation energy for you to do that. And you're very disciplined and you're very dedicated at it. But most agents, they aren't.
Yeah, they're going to do it. They're not going to do it.
I saw, and maybe there's way more now, but at the time it had hundreds of responses, and the post was only like maybe a day or two old. That somebody posting about Redfin, you know, and kind of bashing them, and then you have a bunch of Redfin agents chiming in, you know, basically going, oh, if you're just W-2 employee, then you're just you only answer your phone between 8 and 5, and you don't care about your clients because you have a paycheck coming in, and they're going, oh, you'd be like, oh, okay, is that why I answer my phone at 8 p.m. too, and I work weekends? And they were just basically saying like everything you guys are saying is completely false. So there is a stigma right now in our industry that if you are a W-2 employee in the real estate world, because it's a newer concept, that, you know, you're not going to be able to service your clients as much, you're not going to work as hard, you know, all those things. So I thought that was really interesting.
That's
It is
bullshit.
interesting. They're equating being a W-2 agent to working an 8 to 5.
Yep.
And that's not the case.
So
No, because they all get bonuses too. Like Redfin, it's not like every agent gets $50,000 a year. They're getting like, hey, if you close this many, you're at
They
100,000.
incentivize
You get
them.
this many,
Absolutely.
you get 150. You close this many, you get 200,000. So it's not like it's, you know.
Yeah, and unless you're a high-powered producing team or a high-powered producing agent, which we know that percentage dramatically reduces.
Absolutely.
It's just that there's so many agents, they make up the bulk of the business. Most of a lot of responses from Redfin was like, "What's your average deal count per year?"
Well,
You
and
know?
let's also face it. They're not having
35.
They're not having wine
Sure,
30 on
5.
Fridays. They're not taking 2-hour coffee breaks, right? Like they're trained. They have to follow a schedule. They have accountability. They have a system and a process, right? Like that's the biggest thing I know. I was just talking about in our conversion conversations with
And if
within
you
our
don't follow
Zoodealio
it, you're
group.
fired.
That was my point. That's my point. If you don't have a system and a process without the sale, there's no reason to have the system and the
And
process,
that's why
right? Like
so
it's all
hard
for naught.
to get a 1099 agent to you can't tell them that they need to show up at this time, and they need to work here, and they need to go here at this time, and
they have to willingly choose
this process here. And
and I'm not bashing any agents that disagree.
Well, we're
with
all
that,
entrepreneurs,
because
right?
I
So,
can
of course
I can
we're not.
see their perspective and being like, well, I want to do my own thing. I don't want to be controlled.
yeah.
A lot of people get into this business because of the freedom, and what we realized real quick
There is no freedom.
is that doesn't really exist. Even if you're a part-time agent and you're still talking with clients, you're like, I gotta go work on the weekend. But yeah, I think
Well,
in 5 years from now, the industry is going to look very different, and it wouldn't surprise me if these big tech companies there's going to be a lot of people that'll flood into that because it's just inevitable at this point.
so, what do you think? 10 years, 50% of agents will be W-2?
I don't know. I mean,
I haven't even
you
processed that. 50%.
In 10 years?
I know. I
I
heard
bet
what
you.
you said.
I'd say higher.
It actually is. If
Yeah.
I really am going to get honest about it, I think it could be
February 2021, guys. February 2031. How many agents will be W-2? My guess is 50%.
And a view that I've held that's not very popular is I do
Mm.
think we're going to see a lot more transactions happen digitally. I really do.
And that's
Heck yeah.
that's why I'm saying it's going to be
I know.
W-2.
I know.
Because the agents that are 1099,
Well, and
they don't have those. They don't have those.
Let's face it. A lot of these conglomerates that
those
come into place,
technology.
and especially if they buy the property, they can create self-guided tours. You can tour the property. There's registration. The way that they're able to lead generate. I mean, just again using the example of Open Door, the way that they have. The veil that they have lifted in the ability for buyers to access the property, capturing that information, pulling them into their ecosystem is awesome, right? And it's definitely going to continue. It's set a new trend, and it's going to continue to set a new trend in the industry.
Yeah. So like a technology like Zoodealio, it's for an agent that actually has systems and processes, and they're actually going to use it. It's not a plug and play where you're like, all right, I got Zoodealio. Now I'm going to go take a nap.
Oh, let's sit back and get rich.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to sleep.
No, you got to work.
No, now you have the technology to be a part of something like that. Like a W-2 company.
Yes.
But you still have to
Well,
work
you-
it.
Of course you have to work it. Yeah.
You have the same cutting edge technology, same offers and opportunities that the OfferPad agents, that the Zillow agents, that the Open Doors agents, that the Redfin agents have.
It's like, come
You
on,
can go
you
battle
guys.
them.
Let's do this. Let's band together.
Let's go.
Fight back. If everybody subscribed to something like this, if we stepped up and if we served and supported our consumer and gave them what they wanted, we could take our power
We
back.
would actually crush them.
Yes.
It's 1.4 million versus what? A couple thousand agents?
Like, let's
we would crush it. Would
bid
be-
up those pay-per-clicks. Let's make it $1,000 to get a lead for a
Dude.
seller. Let's take our power back. Like, I am sick
We
of us
would
sitting
crush them.
around and like letting this happen to our industry when we've all worked so hard to build.
It's
I
like
don't
I
know.
told you the other day.
Sorry, it's impossible.
Let's go back to the metaphor. What
It's all
happened?
1099. It has nothing to do with that. It's if we're able to raise the bar for a real estate agent and make it more expensive or make it harder to get in, that's the only way to change the industry.
Yeah, but it's a money grab for all the MLSs out there and all the boards and whatever else. They don't give a crap if agents produce or not. They're trying to keep that barrier of entry low so they can chase that paper.
But yes, I agree with you. They don't care if agents really produce at a high capacity. But at some point, they're going to want people to at least do a deal or two so they keep their dues
For
current.
sure, because otherwise then they're throwing money back, good
They-
money after bad.
Well, then they won't be subscribers
Right.
any longer.
Right.
They'll lose
I
their
don't know.
subscription base.
I think the metaphor
yeah,
that
but
we
it's the frog in the pot, right?
that's what I was going to say.
They're-
What we were talking about the
It's
other day.
warming up, guys. It's warming up.
Well, and
It's going to come to a boil here
you
soon.
drop a frog in a boiling pot of water, it jumps out right away, right? Oh shit, that's hot. Don't burn me. You cook it up, turn it up slowly. You cook the frog, and you never even they don't know that they're dying, and that's what they're doing. These guys have cornered us, and they're slow cooking us.
I use an analogy. It's like the guy in the urban legend that like meets a hot chick in a bar lobby. They have a drink. Next thing he knows, he wakes up in his hotel bathtub full of ice, and he's missing his kidney.
All of a sudden, he has a bunch of ice inside him. He's like, "What is going on right now?"
That's what Zillow's doing to us.
Well, to the agents that are, I still think that like 10 years, 50% are going to be W-2. The other 50% are going to be really good agents using really good CRMs that are connecting with their consumers, and they have a technology platform where they can have that digital experience for their consumer.
Another question
That's
for
it.
you in reference to that.
So, and I think those agents are going to be doing way more. That's why I'm excited.
That's
about it.
the unit count is
like-
actually, because the unit count is not going to go down. It's actually going to go up. The
No, of course it'll go up, 'cause
saturation is
gonna
going to
be
go
easier to
down.
move. I mean, with cash offers and stuff like
Totally.
that, and the
Oh.
prices going down, it's going to be easier to move. It'll be not as costly to move. So what's going to happen? People will move more.
Well, and especially COVID changing everything, right? More remote work. I could see people like ownership becoming more of like a ownership share of a place, like almost like timeshare thing, but it's just long-term timeshares and you can move about.
It already is. I
Yeah.
mean, look at Picasso.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's focused on like vacation homes at
Yeah.
this point. But the ideal of fractional ownership is definitely gaining steam.
It is definitely.
Yeah.
So my question for us was, so I'll use your question, Jay. In 2031, if 50% of the agents are W-2'd working for the conglomerates, what is the average agent count? So right now we're at what? I know we're over 40,000 here in the Phoenix Metro Valley. How much do we think the agent count will drop as a whole?
What do we have? Like 1.3 million realtors, not
1.4
1.4 million
realtors in the country.
Right. And for those of you listening, I know you know the difference, but if you happen to not be in the real estate industry and you're listening, a realtor subscribes to the National Association of Realtors and their local association and the MLS. So how many?
Yeah, they have a code of ethics different.
How many?
I wish
would
I could.
say-
I wish I could short them in the market.
Here's the thing. You know, another question is this.
Fire by Jay today.
Is will the MLSs survive this? You know, I've heard rumblings that EXP is trying to build their own MLS, essentially.
And with 40,000 agents strong, I could see that happening, being publicly traded. If that happens, we all know that Zillow will make a play. And and they would strike hard, strike fast.
I don't know. They're about equal now. I mean, they would. What Glenn Sanford's worth $12 billion now.
Is that really what he's supposedly worth?
100%. That's what he's worth. He's worth
Oh my
$12 billion today.
gosh.
About what a year and a half ago, he's only worth like I think he barely hit $1 billion, and today, I mean, their stock went up like 1,600%.
Oh my gosh! I had no idea he had become a multi-billionaire.
Multi-billionaire.
I really did not.
Well,
know
he just
that.
became a billionaire, like not like just
Yeah.
just within the last
Well,
year
I told
and a
you,
half.
I've had personal
Now
interactions
multi.
and you know, met the guy, and I mean, I know he was no fancy cheese at all.
Well, we did.
I mean, that's been 7 years ago now.
We did REO with his girlfriend, right?
Yeah, we did.
That's crazy. I hope that doesn't happen. If we start having competing MLSs, to be able to serve your client at the highest and best level is that's gonna make it go less. Even if all these tech companies are like, oh, I got all this technology and I can give you a smoother
And they
transaction,
close off
but
the
I'm
platform.
privatized.
Yep,
Yeah, I mean, they're
they
still not
close
going to
off
have all the
platform.
deals, so I don't know if they're going to want to do that because they're still not. I mean,
They can't be
They
a
would-
member of the board and then also have their own separate
Nope.
MLS. They have to
Yeah.
be one or the other. So what would happen is if like EXP did do that, then all of those EXP agents would no longer be realtors.
what's that
Yep.
one company that's doing it right now? What's the name?
Oh man, we used to get the ads for them all the time.
Yeah,
and I haven't seen
Fred or
anything.
not Fred? No.
Felix?
No.
You sure? You sure it's not Felix
That actually
Homes?
does sound familiar.
Or was it the guy out of California? Man, I wish I could.
No, he worked.
There's
at,
been a couple of plays, right, at the end of the day where there's been like that.
No, he's the one who he basically started the suit against, the
National Association of Realtors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was actually the guy that like tipped him off on, because they weren't letting their agents access their lockbox, the lockboxes.
Oh yeah, because now you can access a lockbox even if you're not a realtor. So real estate agents can now access the lockbox.
Right. Real estate agents, but not, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because
Well, technically, a real estate agent can still sell a house, right? You're not entitled to the commission, but that's being advertised in the MLS.
And
so they'd have to have a compensation agreement.
You're not able to use the forms either. How many real estate agents are equipped out there with all of the transactional forms?
Yeah,
no, but like none of them.
The
AAR writes all our forms.
Yeah, or I was just going to say AR, Association of Realtors.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good. Cool. Well, I know we got
Keith was going to say something.
Yeah. Whatever the little tidbits we got.
I don't remember.
Time.
Check it out.
It's all good.
Cool. Well, let's. A ton of hot topics today. Sorry, we know we came at you hot and harsh.
Okay, and I'm podcasting. So,
we got a little podcast.
Okay, all right. I just texted Dad. I just wanted to ask if I could go ride.
You want to go ride your dirt bike?
Talk about improv here.
All right.
As far as we go.
Dad'll text you back. Love you.
Thanks everybody for tuning in today. We appreciate it, and we will catch you very soon.
One more fun fact.
Oh.
Mortgage applications for second homes jumped 84% over the year from January 2020 to now.
Wow.
So people are looking for second vacation homes.
Heck yeah. I feel that. That's awesome.
Transientness is definitely increasing. Catch you soon. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for joining.
Peace.
We truly appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today on the iBuyer Experiment podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe so that you're notified when we launch new podcasts. We'll catch you on the next one.
Show you the money.